Hello, Aldwyn, Altuney here. Welcome to Media Queen TV. We have the amazing Darren, Saul with us and a hot topic for you today. We're going to be chatting about how to build your brand and business with podcasting. Podcasting is absolutely huge nowadays. We have about 2.2 million podcasts worldwide now. In 2018, it was only 500,000. So rapidly growing industry, massive opportunity. So a little bit about Darren before we get chatting with him today. Now, he's a social media and podcast strategist, trainer, coach, keynote speaker, and student of human attention. He started heavily utilizing the power of social media and podcasting to build his photography business and was so amazed with the results, he never looked back. He's now a very active social media marketing practitioner and podcaster who consults with organizations to help them get serious business results, integrating social media and podcasting into their marketing strategy. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Aldwyn. Love it.
So great to have you here. And for those who don't know, which part of the world are you in right now?
So I am in lovely Sydney, Australia, not far from Bondi Beach.
Nice. That's where all the good-looking people are in Bondi, apparently.
Yeah, we like to think so.
If they're not in Manly, they're in Bondi. I was actually a Manly girl, Northern Beaches girl from Sydney originally.
Were you? I didn't know that. Very cool.
Yes, I was. I went to Mossman High School, Forest High School, and now I've been based on the Gold Coast for 20 years. I love it up here. But I do miss my family in Sydney. I have my uncle and cousins there, so I do miss them all.
Sydney's nice, but Australia's nice. We've got so many beautiful places in Australia. Everywhere's amazing.
That's so true. We are so blessed here. Everything is brilliant about Australia except the government and taxes. Everything else is great. But hey, you can't have it all, right?
You can't have it all.
Always going to be something to challenge you out there.
That's right.
So now, Darren, it's interesting that you have photography background too, like I do. I'm actually a photojournalist by trade too. So can you tell us a bit about how you got into doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, so my journey really, as you beautifully mentioned in my intro, I started off as a photographer. I started off as an amateur photographer, doing a lot of street photography and just wandering around, very photojournalistic and documentary, because that's really my passion and my love. And then I realized that when I should have been doing lots of other things, I was still doing that. So I realized there must be something in this, and I better actually pursue this as a profession. And so then I started doing loads of courses and I started getting into photography as a profession. And I do a lot of event work. I do corporate events, private events. I do headshots. I do anything with people. I call myself a people photographer. If you put objects in front of me, I don't really light up. But if you put people in front of me, I light up. And so I did that for quite some time. And then I've realized in that process that I wanted to market my business more. And I thought, you know what? There's got to be a new way to market your business, because the yellow pages didn't work anymore. Letter drops don't work anymore. Referrals are fantastic for a photographer. You still get a lot of referrals as a photographer, but I wanted another avenue. And I started diving into social media and podcasting as my main marketing strategies. And I just, as I do with many things, I just dive all in. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy.
Yes.
And I just went straight for it. I started a podcast. I started going heavily on social media on many platforms. And I just started pumping out content and material every day. And as the journey continues, you get more sophisticated. You listen to the market. You realize what works and what doesn't work. And then, we're all students forever, long-term students in this kind of a practice. But I realized that podcasting in particular and social media really gave me incredible results from a marketing and branding point of view. And now I'm at the point where I help other people, other solopreneurs, small businesses, to actually implement that into their marketing strategy. And I coach them on how to put together social media strategies that work and how to put together podcasts and a podcast strategy that brings them business results.
Nice. I like it. And I would imagine that when you did photography, it was back in the film days, was it, like myself?
Yes, I started with film back at school, actually, and then I left it for ages. And then when digital came in, maybe 8-9 years ago, I started going back into it, and I just never looked back. It just grabbed a hold of me, and I still photograph professionally to this day. I've got a couple of events actually in the next few days, but I just love it. And it's just such an exciting creative field. What I've learned in photography from a people point of view and a human nature and a psychological point of view has helped me in my podcasting and my social media as well.
Yes, nice. I must say I resisted digital photography. I went over to digital in 2005, but I resisted it heavily. I was like, no, nothing's ever going to be as good as film photos.
You're a purist.
And now look at the cameras now. Unbelievable. $2,000 phones and the cameras on those things. I've got a Samsung Note 10 and it is amazing quality.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
So
it's unbelievable what you can do digitally today. And it's the digital language. And once you understand the digital language, you can transition from audio to video to photo reasonably easily if you understand how digital works. So it's a good point.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, and I love doing people shots too. I started out doing a lot of function photography and doing same night photos. We were doing like 600 people events in Brisbane when I started out with, I worked with a company called Happy Memories, which we later called Crappy Memories. we kind of joked. And then Good Times Network Photography. I've worked with them for years and we're very good friends. I've worked with those guys over 20 years and we did functions like a Brentley's Theatre Restaurant, Crazy's Comedy Restaurant in Brisbane, 600 people events. And we'd be taking hundreds of people's photos. We'd run back to the lab, get the photos printed at the lab from the film photos days, come back, sell the photos as prints. And I did that for years. So I love doing people photography as well. And in my uni days, we did things like we sandwiched negatives and we did all the darkroom photography and then Photoshop came out, right?
Yeah, and now with Photoshop, you can do anything. It's unbelievable.
It is just crazy. So I love how you have moved with the times, Darren, because if you don't, you are going to stay behind in this fast changing media landscape. Really, it is we're looking at the mass media world now. Traditionally I teach people how to get free publicity in traditional media, which is TV, radio, print. However, all TV, radio, print now have social media pages. They have websites that they're promoting things on. So it's really, multifaceted approach we need to look at with our media approach. So with 100%. Yourself, with teaching clients about social media strategy and podcasting, so where do you start with someone who wants to venture into this field?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, because everybody's on a different position in that continuum, in that journey. And so I pretty much start where they're at. If someone has no idea about what they should be doing, then we take it right back and I run courses to really help them understand the why before they even get into the how. But if someone's already doing a lot of it and they just want some ideas and they just want some different strategies, maybe I can open their eyes into thinking about things from a different perspective, then we can do that too. So, it's really wherever a person is at in their journey, we can go from there. And from a podcasting point of view, it's exactly the same. A lot of people come to me when they want to set up a podcast because they have no idea even to where to start. They don't understand the technology. They don't understand which apps to use. Do they want video podcast? Do they want an audio podcast? So I can definitely go through all that and I actually run them through that whole journey and I actually set up a podcast and I produce it with them so they know what the whole stage of the process looks like, and then they can off and running and they can do what they got to do.
Love it. Awesome. Well, we've got Sonia with us. Hello, Sonia. Good morning. Good morning. She's put in here. Good morning for her it would be because she's in Bali at the moment, a few hours behind us.
I love Bali. I miss Bali.
Yes, so nice over there. And she says, I know crappy memories to take photos at night. And then she says creepy memories.
Creepy memories.
Thank you, Sonia. Sonia does her own sort of world live streaming summit. Actually, she does some great events, and I've been a guest at her event. So great to see you here, Sonia. Awesome. And we've also got David Kavanagh. Hello, he's coming to us from Thailand. Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. I presume you're in Thailand, David. Are you still in Thailand? David's also an old friend from years ago and amazing online marketer. So that's brilliant that you're here too, David. He's an absolute expert with online marketing. So audio as in podcast or video as in vodcast. So what do you recommend to people if they're tossing up between the two? What do you suggest?
Honestly, I would say both. These days it's a matter of doing as much as you can for the amount of time that you have. But I think, the superpower from a media point of view and a digital, language point of view in the future is video. There's no doubt about it. You have to be embracing video. So I think if you're on a podcast, an audio version of your podcast is fantastic, because a lot of people still like to listen in the car, or listen while they're cooking, or listen while they're doing other things, or going for a walk, or on the treadmill. But it's really important, I think, to embrace video and have a video version in either Vimeo or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you want to house it. Because people want to know who the person is behind the brand, the person is behind the voice. And if you can show that visually, you can uncover that, that brand from a personality point of view. You can really start to connect with your audience even better than just audio. So I think it's really important to do both if you have the time.
Yes, and if you have a face for radio, then you definitely want to be doing podcasts.
That's right. Or you can just change the face. We just put something else on top.
Just wear the QAnon mask.
Yeah, that's right. Photoshop, we can do anything these days.
That'll go down well. We'll just had Halloween. So that's quite funny. But what I love about what we're doing here, which is a vodcast, right? What I love is that you can extract the audio if you have good enough quality audio. You can extract the audio and also create a podcast, which is what I'm about to do with my 700 plus videos on YouTube. I don't actually have an actual audio podcast. We're about to launch one. Would you believe? And thanks to Darren.
You're going the other way. You started with a video and now you're going back to audio.
Exactly. I'm going the other way. And so next will be the audio. We'll extract from that. And then also you can get it transcribed. And of course you can create lots of content from that as well. And I love the power of video in really capturing a whole other level of a person. There's only so much really that you can capture by listening, by just audio. So they say a photo is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 1,000,000 words, right? And if someone dies the next day after you interview them and you've only got an audio of them and not a video, then, there's a lot that we're not capturing of that person. So I love the video format, I must say, Darren. And I think it's important that people get over themselves when it comes to that they have a face for radio, right? This whole story, because we do want to connect with people. It doesn't matter if you think you're ugly or you think you're not ugly. It doesn't matter. Just be yourself, speak your truth, come from the heart. People want to do business with people. Like Sam Cawthorn, who runs Speakers Institute, he's just put a book out, People Follow People. And that's so true, particularly now. It's a time of influencers. And if you want to be an influencer and you want to build trust out there, then getting more video content is so crucial.
So true. And great point. I mean, I heard a great quote a little while back on a podcast, and it said, connections are formed in the cracks. And basically what it's saying is that when we show our flaws, when we're vulnerable, when we're not perfectly made up, when we've got a tooth missing or whatever it is, that's when people connect with us more so than if we're perfectly Hollywood polished. So there's a lot to be said about just be yourself, be comfortable with who you are, and connect with your audience, and you'll be amazed at what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And also with your branding. Now, it's interesting you make that point about Hollywood, the Hollywood style, because, my Media Queen logo, which you can see up in the corner of this screen. Now, I was in Los Angeles a few years ago, and I had two film director friends of mine, and they said, Aldwyn, we hate that cartoon of you. We hate it. It's awful. It looks really ugly. You look a lot more attractive than that. We're going to go and get you a proper cartoon done. And so we went to Disneyland and we went to one of the cartoonists there, and they did this Media Queen cartoon, which looked just like a princess out of Cinderella or something, right? It looked like a princess face. It was a pretty version of me, but it didn't capture what I wanted to capture with the brand. And, and you can actually look back in my social media. You can actually have a look back on my Facebook, because then I thought, okay, well, I'm open to other opinions. So I'll put the princess up there, and I'll put this current logo. And, there were people that like the princess, and there were people like the other one, and there were hundreds of comments. And in the end, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go with what I like. And that's that cartoon there. So,
Perfect.
And it just goes to show that the princess doesn't capture what I want to capture with the Media Queen brand, which is about crowning yourself. You don't have to go and be born in the royal family to put yourself out there. It's having fun with your uniqueness, which is for me is the big hair and the big smile. And it's also so celebrating your uniqueness and having fun with what you do. Like my nose is definitely not as big as that cartoon. Okay. It's definitely one hell of a hooter on the cartoon, but you've got to have fun. You got to have fun with what you do and look at what you represent. And I'm all about lifting the energy out there. So that's what that cartoon represents. So sometimes people worry about, as you say, being too polished and, being too Hollywood style, because this is how we're brought up with Hollywood.
Right. Everything has to be perfect, 45 minutes of makeup before we shoot, 10 takes. Now we're doing this live as we go, raw. So, let it out, just be free.
Exactly. And I only did 10 minutes of makeup today, so we're good here.
I only did about 5 today.
It's amazing how you can scrub up. And, however, there's many times I do videos. I do a lot of Facebook Lives and things with no makeup as well. So it's being comfortable in your skin, right? Being comfortable in your skin. So what about topics, Darren? So what about, there's so many different podcast topics. How do you pick a great topic?
Oh, my God. I know. Look, there are so many podcasts and so many podcast topics. And again, here's another interesting idea. I mean, you can become a specialist in a particular area, or you can go like a variety show. And that's what I've done with my podcast I don't like to talk about the same thing every single episode, constantly. So I actually made my show into a variety show, and I talk about all sorts of things from science to art to business to entrepreneurship to charities to amazing causes to finance, et cetera, et cetera. But some people, if you really are passionate about a particular topic, just go with what be passionate about whatever it is you do. If you work in a particular area and you want to build a brand and help yourself to build a brand and further extend your network in your particular niche, then go with what you know. And I think that's the key as well, is don't try and talk about things that you don't know much about, unless you want to go down the track of just being a good interviewer and trying to just let your guests shine. You don't have to be the one that knows everything about everything. It's you're inquisitive and you can let your guests shine. But if you're going to run a podcast where you're going to be conducting knowledge and expressing your opinions and ideas, then go with what you know. If you're 20 years, 30 years experience in finance, then great place to start a podcast. Just find your niche. And again, a lot of people will say, oh, but that's been done before. Everybody's doing a podcast like that. But again, nobody is you. Nobody is going to do it like you. Nobody's going to do it your way, your style, your voice, et cetera, et cetera. So it doesn't matter how many other people are doing the same thing. You still can break through and shine because it's you, it's personal, and it's authentic. That's the key.
Yes, absolutely. So true. And I say to my clients, your X factor is your story, right? No one else has your story. No, there might be other people in your industry, but no one's exactly like you. And people will be drawn to people that they like, that they feel comfortable with, that they trust, etc. And, it's interesting watching the different kinds of vodcasts and podcasts out there. And, some people just do straight, information pieces on their podcasts. And some people do interviews. Now, I find that often when people do the little information snippets, that they keep it quite short with those ones. Whereas now I love doing 1 hour interviews. I must say I've been doing this for years, and I love how we can go a lot deeper with a 1 hour interview than we can with, say, a 20, 30-minute segment. And I know that listeners drop off after a while. However, that's my style. I love to go deep. And then I figure, well, if people really like the topic, they'll stay on for the whole thing. So what are your thoughts about that, about the length of time that you do a show?
Yeah, look, again, it's how long is a piece of string? You can do anything you want to do. And what I tell people generally when I'm setting them up for courses is I say, if you want to do a bit of everything, you can. You can have Monday, 5-minute, 10-minute informational drop. You can have Wednesday long form video with a guest. You can have Friday intermediate. You can do whatever you want to do. That's the beauty about having your own podcast. You have your own show. You have no studio to tell you what to do. You can do whatever it is you want to do. And that's the beauty of it. You are totally in creative control. And again, I agree with you. I think when you have a guest, it does lend itself to going deeper and really trying to pry out a story and really fleshing out some good discussion. if someone's going to go on for an hour just on their own, people would switch off faster than if there's a guest on there for an hour. So definitely the length of time makes difference as to what kind of a show you're doing. But I would certainly say do what you feel comfortable with. But the one thing I will say is that when you have a guest, it is an extremely powerful part of your strategy. And I'll tell you why. One reason is it allows you to give your guests variety. If it's just you saying the same things every few days or every week, people tend to switch off. But if every week you have another guest and you have a whole new perspective and you're just allowing that guest to shine and explain what they've done and what they've experienced over the years, that's so much variety that you can bring to your audience. That's number one. And number two, if you have a guest, you can, when you start promoting the podcast and even just having that guest on the show, you can tap into their audience and build your network further, which will bring you a larger business network, more prospects, more people for your podcast, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think if you can have a guest in your show in some way, even if it's once a month or once a week, depending on how often you do a show, it is extremely powerful as a strategy. But you can do incredibly well just on your own, putting out incredible content. I listen to some people that just talk for 40 minutes, 20 minutes, just by themselves every single week, even twice a week. And I also listen to people that have guests 1 hour, 2 hours a week, and I listen to every show. So it just depends on what you want to do. But there's just two schools of thought for you.
I love that. And the power of joint ventures, it is a great joint venture. Every time you do an interview with someone, you're collaborating with them, they're promoting to their network, you're promoting to your network, you're reaching a whole new audience. 100%. It's very, very powerful. And sharing lots of wisdom. One of my favorite things to do is actually interview people. I love interviewing people. I love hearing people's stories.
Yeah, and you learn so much. I've learned so much through my guests. It's unbelievable.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's huge. Now, Sonia is saying ghost in her photo and it made my camera broken right away. Oh my goodness. Losing my video I record on a live dance stage because of recording bad, evil story on my other camera too. Oh my goodness, Sonia, was this around Halloween that this happened? That sounds intense. Wow. I'm sorry to hear that, Sonia. She was talking about creepy memories before. Wow. I hope you got that sorted, Sonia. That's very, very sorry to hear that. David Kavanagh says, agreed, do the video and rip the audio, repurpose it multiple times. That's coming from an expert as well in this space. Thank you, David, for that comment. Thank you. Sonia's saying, video on podcast for me, especially with Sonia English. I dislike hearing myself on audio podcasts. I deleted them many times when I record. Sonia. Yeah, so Sonia's English is a little bit broken. However, good on you, Sonia. She's done a few world live streaming summits now, and she didn't really know much about live streaming, but she's hopped in there. She got a heap of experts together. She's got sponsors now for that, and she sells tickets to it. She's doing really well monetizing that as well. So well done with that, Sonia. Amazing. Well done.
And can I just say, you don't have to speak the Queen's English to be a great podcaster. People want to hear your personality. They would love a podcast that's a little quirkier. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. And I love hearing accents, to be honest. I absolutely love it. So there's actually a lot of benefit there, Sonia, as well. So notice the conversations in your head where you're being hard on yourself, right? This imposter syndrome that can come in when we are doing this. Michael, good to see you. Hi there, Media Queen. Good to see you, Michael. Sonia says, even though I was on radio too. Okay, so she's done some radio. Sonia says, congratulations once more on your award. Aldwyn, what are your goals in 2022? Thank you so much, Sonia. So for those that don't know, I did win the BX National Award recently for the print media and photography section up against 7 other male finalists, which is phenomenal in an area where it's been such a male dominated industry in the world of media. And as much as I love the men in my life, and I think there's definitely a place for men and women, I think definitely some industries there's been a massive imbalance of the male and female. And Darren, you're a finalist as well. What were you?
I was a finalist in the marketing and branding category. But congratulations to you, Aldwyn. I think, you've done a great job and, an award well deserved.
Thank you so much, Darren. And for those who don't know too, who know about BX networking, Darren and I are both leaders on the BX 7 a.m. Tuesday meeting, which happens every 2 weeks.
Yep.
And I believe the last one for the year is coming up next Tuesday. That's correct?
This coming Tuesday, the 14th, I think it is. Yep. 7 a.m. So if anybody would love to join us as a guest, please reach out to Aldwyn or myself, and we'd love to have you on the
yes,
call.
we'd love to have you as a guest. BX is a fantastic networking group that is all over Australia and New Zealand, about to launch in the US. They have breakfast, lunch, dinner meetings. There's about 1,200 members, I believe, across Australia and New Zealand at the moment.
And growing all the time. And,
yes.
And we're moved into New Zealand now, and potentially going to the US soon as well.
Very, very cool. And for those who know Dale Beaumont, he's one of the shareholders. Matt Alderton started it. Loz is involved. There's lots of amazing people in it. There were 300 entrants in 300 finalists. 300 entrants in the awards, and 180 finalists. 180 finalists and 25 different awards. So congratulations to all the finalists and winners of that. And networking is just so powerful when it comes to boosting your business. So goals for, back to your question there, Sonia. My goals for 2022, good question. Geez, there's so much I want to do in 2022. I have a mass media mastery program, and my plan is to grow that to 1,000 members by the end of next year. Amazing. I'll be continuing with the global good news challenges that we do every month, which there's one currently on for those who are sick of the negative news and would like to share more positive news. So we'll be continuing with that monthly. And I also have new events that I'll be launching in the next month or two too, Sonia. So there's just some of my goals for 2022. What about you, Darren? What are some of your 2022 goals?
So 2022 goals for my podcast, for example, again, just interview more and more great guests, and I'm nearly just about kicking over to my 200th episode. I've done 177. So for next year, I want to break my 200 and continue to go further, and maybe, come up with different angles for the shows as well, and, give the audience even more variety, and just continue doing what I love.
Fantastic. And your show name, what is your show name, Darren?
So the show name is called Playing with Perspective. I especially used a photographic term because, in photography, we use the term perspective a lot when it comes to the visual nature of how we compose. But I wanted to come up with a podcast show that had a little bit of a photography bent, but I could interview anybody and talk about anything. So I thought, that's a great name, Playing with Perspective. And I think it's worked really well, and it's given me license to do anything I want, but still have a little link back to my photography days.
I like it. Very nice. And Sonia says, what is your podcast about? So you did share that earlier, but would you like to share again in case anyone missed it?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Sonia. So it's very much a variety show. So I interview people that have specialities in marketing, in branding, in music, in arts, in certain charities and events that people want to bring awareness to, people that are specialists in finance, mindset coaches, all sorts of things. And as I mentioned, I love variety, and I love talking about different things, and I love even more so learning about different things. So my role I see as a podcaster is to be a great conversationalist and a great interviewer, and allow people to take the stage and share their expertise with me and my audience. So I learned through that process.
And I love that the title is so open that you do have room for movement within it, as opposed to something that's, say, like a finance podcast or a business podcast where you have many different businesses, but it's still business, so it's nice.
So I think that's a really good point. Like, if you're going to start something like this, have a really good think about what you want to do with it and where you might want to take it, because once you start, to continue to rebrand and change all the time gets a little bit tricky. So have a think about, prepare all this beforehand, really think about what you want to do, and then go ahead.
Yes, great point. And Sonia says that's totally you with the big hair. She's saying I can't brand with my hair. Sonia, you can definitely brand with how you look and who you are. So just because you haven't got big hair like mine, I mean, you won't end up with something that looks like the Media Queen image. However, you'll have something uniquely you, Sonia. So there's definitely room for movement to play with that. And we've got Gopal here. Hello, Gopal. Podcast on music sounds interesting. Podcast on music. You mean with music podcast with music? Is that what you mean?
Some people, like some musicians, have appeared on the show, and they might have an album just about to break, and I talk to them about their journey as a musician, how they came to do what they do, and then we talk about their up and coming album, etc., etc. So
so podcast with musicians or entertainment. Yeah, entertainment podcast.
Yep.
Yes, that would be interesting. And I must say, for years as an entertainment reporter, I had the great fortune to interview people like Cyndi Lauper and Debbie Harry from Blondie and Russell Crowe. When Russell Crowe came to the Gold Coast and he performed in his band, a lot of people might not know this, he has a band called 50 Odd Foot of Grunt, and he played here at the Surfers Paradise Beer Garden. And I interviewed him all those years ago. And what I love about doing interviews around entertainment is people love what they do. They have that passion in what they do. And this is what, I say to people, if they want to put themselves out there, do something you're passionate about. What would you
100%.
say about that, Darren, about passion?
I would definitely, I would agree 1,000%. I think if you're not passionate about what you do, you're going to stop at some point. You're not going to continue because, when it comes to social media and podcasting, you have to be consistent, you have to be patient, you have to be relentless in your execution. And you need to give it the time it takes to build an audience, to build a guest network, to really, start to get your message out there. And if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're going to stop midway and you're never going to come back to it. So, if picking something that you really love is going to allow you to continue to execute day in, day out till you find the success you're looking for.
Absolutely. And go pal cells. Yes, musicians would be good. Absolutely. Because they love what they do. And often with musicians, they're not in it just for the money. If you're doing something just for the money, you're not going to stick with it. Right. Yep. So important. And, Bob Proctor, I talk about him a lot because he's 86 years of age. He's one of the foundation personal development guys, and he works to this day because he loves what he does. And someone asked him once on YouTube, he has a video about how to find your purpose. And he says, do what you love every single day. Do as much as you can of what you love. That's the trick to life. That's when you get in flow, when you get in the zone. That's when you start attracting amazing opportunities to yourself, magnetizing clients, etc.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Very important. And I can tell, Darren, that you love what you do. I can tell you've always got a smile on your face and always such a pleasant personality. And it's such a joy doing the BX events with you, I must say, every 2 weeks.
Me too. And you too. Thanks for helping me out. And, you too. I mean, you're incredibly capable, and you can see that you've been doing this for a long time and you love every minute of it.
Yes, I do. I absolutely love what I do. Absolutely. So what is it for you watching this right now? What is it that when you do that thing that it just lights you up and gives you joy? And, look for ways you can monetize that. There's always ways you can monetize your passions, right? It's just, when they say when the why is strong enough, the how will show up. A lot of people get stuck on the how something's going to happen. Don't worry about the how. Just concentrate on what you love doing, why you love doing it. And the how will show up when the student's ready, the teacher appears, as they say, Darren, right?
And don't think about the when too much. Just it'll happen when it happens. A lot of people try to force the outcome. Just be patient, do what you got to do, enjoy every minute of it, and it will happen. Don't worry about the when.
Yes. So important. People get so impatient now. They want everything to happen yesterday.
That's right.
And
we're living in this world of, everything is instant gratification.
Yes. And in fact, fleas have a longer attention span now than humans. So, which I think is about 3 seconds.
Oh my God. What does that say about us humans? Oh my God.
So I often say it's like the exponential curve. Sometimes in business particularly, you feel like you're chugging along, and then there'll be a tipping point and things will go exponential at that point. But you need to stay on that, what I call the roller coaster of life. There's going to be times you're up here, times you're down here, times you're going to feel you're going round and round in circles. Sometimes you're going to feel like you're going backwards. Yeah. And sometimes we need to slow down to speed up, right?
Definitely. And everything a lot of the time it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But eventually you hit that critical mass point and things can take off.
Yes, or sometimes 3 steps back and 1 step forward, it may feel like, right? But the thing is when you're in those low points in life, and I've had depression, I've had 4 friends actually take their own lives, right? So this is something that I know quite a lot about, is these low points. And I'd say as a human being, you've also had a few low points in life. And the thing is, there's lessons to get when we go into those breakdowns, right? There's always lessons, and
Yes.
it's up to you how long you choose to suffer down there, not get the lesson. Or you can get the lesson, and this is what a lot of successful people do. They get the lesson very quickly, and then they bounce back, right? Or bounce forward, as Sam Cawthorn says, is actually working through navigating the flow of life. It's like COVID, right? Some businesses have collapsed during COVID, and yet others have actually absolutely boomed, right? So it's all about how you're going to be under the current circumstances. And the same with the world of technology. So many people I come across, I'm hopeless with technology, right? How many times do you hear that, Darren? Oh, hopeless with technology.
Oh my God, I hear this all the time. I'm no good with this. I'm no good with that. I'm no good with Apple. I'm no good with Windows. I'm no good with phones, etc. I'm not good with video, etc., etc. But again, it's just embrace it, learn, do whatever you can do to learn. There's lots of great courses out there for free or on YouTube, or there's very low cost courses you can do either online or in your local community college, and you can start to learn the language of the new technology of this new age, and you'll be happy you did.
Yes, and everything is hard until it becomes easy, my friends. Everything is hard until it becomes easy. So, the thing is, Facebook only started in 2004. Like, this is a very new world. And now we have half the world's population on social media, right? It's rapidly changing times. And if you are not on social media, and if you're not putting yourself out there, then you are going to get left behind. And particularly now that trust is such a big issue, because there's so many online scammers, as we've seen, Darren. I get people from Nigeria every day, just about, pretending to be French art dealers with fake profiles that want to marry me. They've never met me, and they, there's a lot of scamming going on. A lot of people, that are just have no integrity, etc. And so this is where people will Google you if they're looking to do business with you. And if you have video content out there, particularly, or a podcast as well, is great profile building as well, then people will come to know, like, and trust you, or know, love, and trust you. It's so important to just get over yourself and just notice the conversations that come up, the imposter syndrome, say thanks for sharing, and stay true to your path.
100%. Because, when people find out about you, what do? When they first find out about your product or service, they jump on Google. And if you have some information, some blog posts, some videos, some audio, whatever, automatically people start to think, that person knows what they're talking about. If you don't, you don't have anything.
Yes. So are you Googleicious, as they say?
I like that. Are you Googleicious?
And if you want an alternative view, then go to DuckDuckGo, go to that search engine, because there is a lot of censorship that's been happening now with Google and with YouTube and Facebook. A lot of fact checkers are coming out of the woodwork, and censorship of things on, I did a video on 5G, got taken down off my balcony talking about how dangerous 5G was, and that was interesting. So I always say, well, if there's nothing to hide, why is there so much censorship going on right now? It's very interesting times that we are in. So I say research everything, and this is what I love about the alternative media now. There's so many alternative media platforms like BitChute, Vimeo. I'd see on Vimeo now you can monetize Vimeo too, right?
Yep, Vimeo you can. Yep, you can create your own personal channels. You can go in your own personal little groups within Vimeo, and you can monetize access to those groups and that network. So you can do a lot of stuff with Vimeo.
And there's things like Rumble out there. A lot of people are communicating now on Telegram or on Signal as alternatives to Facebook because of the censorship. And of course, Facebook owns WhatsApp, so there's censorship going on there too. So it's really interesting. The mainstream media channels and the alternative media channels, always do your own research. Having worked as a journalist, I can tell you there's hidden agendas going on out there. So what is the truth for you? Now, with Media Queen TV, we're about inspiring truth and good news, whatever the truth is to you, right? And so that's why I say research. Don't just believe what the mainstream media tell you, because it is media programming. They call it media program for a reason. And if you want to see more about that, watch a documentary called Out of Shadows, which was released during COVID, had about 10 million hits in a month, and was taken down off YouTube. And it was talking about how the programming happens with Hollywood and with mainstream TV. And you will find it up on some alternative sites. So if you look up Out of Shadows documentary, I highly recommend check that out. And the very first line is, why do we believe what we believe? Why do we believe what we believe? It's very, very interesting. So it's important to just be aware and be open to alternative possibilities, because perhaps what you're seeing is not the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So the question then is, what is your truth? What are you here on the planet to do? A third of people die by the age of 65, Darren. Did you know that? 1/3 of all people die by 65. So life goes pretty damn quick. So if you can get out there and do your own show, not only will you be leaving a legacy with every show you put out there, you will be building your brand and business. If you are in business, it will definitely help you stand out. So Darren, I would love to hear from you. What are some strategies once people decide to do a show? How can they use it specifically to build their brand and business?
Awesome. Well, I mean, there are so many. I mean, first of all, when you have your own show, that is already an incredibly powerful but very passive indirect sales tool or marketing tool. So when you have your own show, you're automatically putting out valuable content to the audience all the time, and you're not asking anybody to buy anything. You're just putting out your messages, but by proxy, people get to know you, they get to like you, they get to trust you, they get to do some research on who this person is, what they do, and business comes from that. Not to mention the referrals and the knock-on effect from there. The other amazing thing about building a podcast is if you use guests, you can actually start to interview a lot of your amazing prospects. So you can get access to those people where you might normally not get access to them. If I call up Mr. John, Mr. Smith, and he's busy, he'll say, "Who are you, Darren?" But if I say, "Mr. Smith, I want you to come to my podcast," "Oh, sure, no problem. I've got some time next Monday." So all of a sudden, and then you get to access Mr. Smith's network, and you get to et cetera, on social media and off social media. So, from a strategy point of view, a podcast is an incredible tool, incredible marketing tool that allow you to break through and build your relationships, build your network, allows you to become a thought leader in a particular area, which again leads to opportunities. People ask you to speak. People ask you to do workshops. People ask you to, put together material, collaborate. So there's so many knock-on effects to having your own show, but you just got to give it the time for people to get to know you. But I guarantee you, if you do that and you just every day focus on what you love to do and you do it well, things will happen.
Yes, love what you do, the money will come, I always say.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that was that beautiful quote from Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Build it and they will come. And I always think of that when it comes to your podcast. Just build it and they will come.
Build it and they will come. Absolutely. And, the fact is a lot of people may not need millions of clients, right? You might just want, 100 clients. You might just want 100 really good clients. So, don't get too hung up on the numbers. It's about the quality of who you reach. And it could just 100%. Be one person that you reach that could take things exponential for you.
Definitely.
Now,
one person could have a contact that who knows where that will lead, and it will change your business overnight.
Yes. And really, you're producing your own media. This is very exciting times where we can actually be our own, I studied officially as a journalist. I went through all that. But now, people can do podcasts and they become suddenly like a radio host or a TV host, et cetera, overnight without those kind of qualifications, right?
And without any censorship. You can do whatever you want. You don't need permission. That's the beautiful thing.
Yes, and you can do it from anywhere in the world, even in lockdown, right?
Even in lockdown and for just about free.
Yes, so thank goodness for technology to be able to reach people all over the world now. It's a very, very cool thing. I'm very grateful for the technology. So there's always pros and cons with all situations, and it's about, are you going to embrace this? There's many things we can be doing in business, but I would say that doing your own show is something that is free publicity, right? It doesn't take too much effort, really. It's just a bit of technology and getting your head around a few things. Okay, you might want to do a graphic. Actually, could you explain that process, Darren? Because I know you have a great graphic image that you use. And, what do people need to get in place? Some people do intros, outros. What do people need in place to actually do the show?
Yeah, really easy. I mean, for any artwork like that, I went to a fantastic lady. I'll give her a plug. Her name's Dani Vitz. She is here in Sydney. Dani, DANIVITTZ. She does all my artwork, and she's a digital cartoonist, and she's incredible. So I just sent her a photo, and within a few days, she sent me a great caricature, and she does all my branding. So if you ever want to get in touch with Dani, she'll put something together for you, but otherwise there's loads of other ways to do it. But all you need really for a podcast is just a square logo, and you can use that same square logo on your YouTube channel and et cetera, or derivatives of it. And then from an intro and outro point of view, if you use a great product called Anchor, it's one of the most popular podcast platforms out right now. It was started off on its own. It was bought by Spotify because it's so good. And if you use Anchor, which is ANCHOR, anchor.fm, it allows you to put together your own intros, outros, interludes, all sorts of things in the actual platform while you're promoting or producing your show. So you don't even have to have anybody do it for you. But some people go down the route of getting a professional to put together another type of intro or outro. You can have multiple intros and outros, interludes, but again, anchor.fm. So thanks for putting that up on the screen. It's a great app. It's free, and it then spits out your podcast to Apple, to Google, to Stitcher, to Spotify, and 3 or 4 other podcast platforms all in one shot. So it's an amazing piece of technology.
Beautiful. See, everything is there for you. So that's the link, anchor.fm. And if people want to see your show, I'll put your website up here.
Lovely.
And they can see what your graphics look like. And to get in touch with this artist in Sydney, I presume she works with people all over the world.
Yes, Danny definitely does.
They could contact you to get in touch with her. That would be wonderful. Okay, here it is, suspendedanimation.com.au. I do love your cartoon. It's very, very cool.
Thank you. She's great. Danny is great.
So that's suspendedanimation.com.au. Now, some people say with podcasts and shows that you should do it at the same time every week. Now, I must say I find that a little bit rigid myself.
Yep, me too.
You find it rigid too, yeah.
Me too. Although, funny enough, like some people that I follow, I know that on Monday and Thursday there's a show coming out. So Monday night or Thursday night, I say, oh, there's a show. Let's sit down and have a glass of wine and listen to the show. But I also like the variety. So every morning I jump on my podcast app and I say, what's broken through today? So I really, I'm kind of in both worlds at the same time.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear from those watching this right now. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know, where in the world are you right now in the comments, and also what do you prefer? Do you prefer someone to have a regular show at the same time every week, or do you not mind if you have unexpected shows here and there that might pop up over time? Do you prefer that regularity, or do you prefer something different? Let us know in the chat. That would be very interesting to see from our viewers. And Darren, now we've talked about your 2022 goals. So with your podcast, you want to get to 200 episodes, you're saying?
Yeah, definitely want to break 200 and continue on, and maybe I get to 300. Who knows?
Yes. And how many shows are you doing at the moment? A week?
So at the moment, I'm doing one a week. When I started a couple of years ago, and when we had lockdown in Sydney or around Australia, I started doing nearly a show a day at one point because I had less to do. Now that I'm busier with other things, I do one a week. So I just kind of go up and down and ebb and flow with what's happening around me. But one a week's a nice, nice workflow. I think it doesn't take too much time, doesn't take too much preparation. And some people want to do it once a month, once every 2 weeks. That's also great. But I'd say between once or 4 times a month is a good frequency for a podcast.
And then by the end of the year, if you did one a week, you'd have 365. Would you have 352 episodes by the end of the year? If you did one a day, you'd have 365 episodes by the end of the year.
Yep, absolutely. And I know a few podcasters. There's a famous podcaster by the name of John Lee Dumas, and he started off doing a show a day because that was his point of difference. He was the only podcaster that did one show every day. So he's got God knows how many episodes.
Yes, I remember that actually. He challenged himself, didn't he, to do one a day? And
amazing. Entrepreneurs on Fire. That's the name of his podcast.
Yes, absolutely. And Podcasters Paradise he has as well.
Oh, okay, good one.
Nice. Yes, very cool. Now, Gopal says regular shows, fixed time he prefers, and he's from India. Welcome from India, Gopal. Which part of India are you from? Love to hear. I had an opportunity to go to Goa years ago with the Brahma Kumaris when I was doing stories for the Gold Coast Sun newspapers for the Brahma Kumaris. They invited me to their temple in Goa in India.
God, how cool.
And I didn't go at the time, and I so wish I did now. I so wish I did. But, hey, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But I'm sure if you're traveling, from Mumbai. Wow. I went to Mumbai airport, Gopal. Mumbai. I love the Indian clothes and the jewelry and all of that.
The color, it's exotic, it's everything. It's fascinating. And for a photographer, India would be an absolute canvas, blank canvas. It would be amazing.
Yes. And did you know that Bollywood is actually bigger industry than Hollywood? A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah,
Bollywood is
I knew that it
massive.
was big. Wow, it's bigger than Hollywood.
Bigger than Hollywood. Bollywood is huge. We just don't see a lot of the movies here, but I love all the color in the Bollywood movies, the dancing and the singing,
Absolutely.
and there's so much happy media that comes out of India. Considering that there's so many homeless and it's such a mix of people in India, a lot of poverty. Yet a lot of Indian people have such good disposition and happy sort of people, which is awesome.
And some great film as well. I've watched some amazing Indian films lately. There was some great films.
Yes, some great films and TV series, all sorts of things coming out. Yes, so well done to our Indian friends over there. That is brilliant. He's in Bollywood City. Okay, Gopal in Bollywood
there we go.
City. Wow. Well, there you go. So Gopal, we're going to see you dancing on one of your podcasts in one of those colourful outfits.
Send us a video.
Oh yeah, would love to see a video. I'm sure it wouldn't take much to get some of those beautiful girls together in their doing the little thing. Awesome. I love it. Very cool. Okay, so what are some other tips, Darren, to use the podcast to build your business? So once you have the podcast, what's the best way to then promote it from there?
Awesome. Now, this is really interesting because I always say that my podcast is actually an extension of my wider social media strategy. So a podcast is fantastic, but if nobody knows it's there, it's a total waste of time.
Yes.
And it's just like your website. You're going to have the best website. If nobody knows it exists, what's the point? So it's the same thing. You have to learn how to integrate what you do every day with your podcast and promote it with your social media strategy or click it in to your social media strategy as well. And, some great ways to do that would be to do little lead-ins for the show to say, this show's about to break on Thursday. Stay tuned. This is what we're going to be talking about. Then after Thursday, you might want to release the show. Then on Friday, you might want to release a little mini video snippet from the show or a little teaser or a trailer and say, here's a little snippet from our show yesterday. Click on this link for a full episode. So you're always trying to leverage whatever it is that you've done in a few different ways rather than just post things once and forget about them. So that's kind of leads me into another point with podcasting is podcasting video and audio is one of the absolute best ways to create content as a social media marketer. Because it gives you unlimited amount of video, audio, graphic, screenshot, written content from all your shows. So if you just podcasted and started stripping and repurposing and getting creative with what you're doing, you could have content till the cows come home.
Yes, so true. So social media strategy, now that's a big area, right? I was speaking to someone today and they said, they get so lost with social media. They don't know where to post, what to post, how to go about it. So where do you start with people that are totally lost in that area?
Yeah, look, I think the key is keep it simple. If you're wanting to really learn how to do social media effectively, keep it simple. Stick to one or two platforms which you're comfortable with and where you think you're going to get the biggest bang for your investment of time and effort. So if it's LinkedIn, which is a great platform right now, if it's Facebook, if it's Instagram, stick to one. But I would say probably go for, as a starting point, Facebook or LinkedIn, honestly, because they're so multifaceted in what you can do with them. They're not as limited as, say, Instagram. And just watch other people that do it well, learn from them, do it every day, practice, become quite intuitive with what's happening, see how people are reacting to what you're doing. If they're acting well, do more of it. If they're not reacting so well, tweak it, change it. So it's a game. Social media is like a game for adults. It's like a game of psychology and sociology, and anthropology. That's why I love social media so much, because it's a mixture between science and art.
True.
So
and it does.
You have to be thinking.
It does, yes. And it does have the word social there, my friends. So that means it's important to be active on social media, right? To actually get social. To get social. So, like comment on people's posts, love it, share it if you like it, get interactive. I think that's a great strategy.
Build a community, build a following.
Yes, build a following, show some love. The more you support others, the more it will come back to you. It's the law of reciprocity.
Definitely.
What comes out will come back tenfold. So I'd love to know about your strategy, Darren. I know you've got obviously the show, and so how do you use your show, and what strategy do you have for what you do?
Sure. So for my show, for example, I always run my show. Once I don't do it live like this, I just do it as a normal recording. Then I take the audio version and the video version, and within a day or two, I tend to promote and produce my shows quite quickly. So within a day or two, I launch them, and I use LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, sometimes Instagram, and those are my main platforms of choice. And I promote the show that I just did, but then I'll go and take a little video or a couple of video snippets if it's a great show, and 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and I'll repurpose those videos and keep bringing people back to that show for the next 2 to 3 months, spaced out within other shows that I do, because I do lots of shows. So that's the thing with social media. A lot of people think that once they post something once, they can't do it again, because you have to remember that you might have 20, 30,000 people following you. And if only a small percentage of people see that once, you still have a whole other audience to tap into the next day or the day after or the week after. So you can repurpose and repackage and simply just repeat everything you're doing, and it will fall on different audiences every single time, because that's the nature of social media. And as well, you're always picking up new contacts and new connections every day at the same time. So it's new to them. So it's really about understanding how to integrate what you're producing, plug it into your social media strategy, which is a very, very well thought out, repeated, conscious, consistent process. It's a system. Your social media strategy is really a system. It's a machine that you keep churning. And once you work out the formula, you can just plug any content, whether it's podcast content or other content, into that machine. And that's what continues and it just builds and builds from there. So, it doesn't have to be that difficult. Just you get started getting to the habit of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And then you learn and you tweak things along the way. And then when you have some new content, you plug that in. When you don't have any new content, you take some old content, you plug that back in. Or you might take a bit of old content and put it together with a slightly different screenshot or a different video, and it's new again, but it's really made up of some old stuff. So it's really about understanding how to build this system that works and churns day in, day out.
Yes, the system, absolutely. And, seek support if you don't want to do it all yourself, because it can take a lot of time to do, video editing and all of that kind of thing. If you're putting a lot out there and then marketing that and repurposing that can all take a lot of time. So do you have anyone else on your team that helps with that, Darren?
So I tend to do a lot of it myself. Being a photographer, I'm a control freak. But there are loads of amazing people that you can use. A lot of people on places like Upwork or Fiverr, or there's so many different freelance networks that you can find VAs and freelancers to help you do things like that. In a real cost-effective way. You can bring people in-house to help you do it. You can get work with other people in agencies. There's no end to the support that you can get if you need it. But start small. You don't have to go and, take on the world. Just start small and build it to a point where you're ready. And then when you're ready, you might bring in some people to help you.
Yes, I agree. So VAs, for those who don't know, is virtual assistants.
Yep.
And you could also seek interns. A lot of the unis have interns that will come and maybe do an hour, a day a week or whatever it is as work experience. So, you could train someone up and then possibly employ them if you're on a budget. There's lots of different ways you can do things to build the team. So now back to the point about confidence. On camera, or confidence even doing an interview. Like Sonia here had a few comments there where she was putting herself down, a few of those comments. Sending you love there, Sonia, because it's very common. A lot of people do put themselves down. So
I hear it all the time.
Yeah, we hear it all the time. So what do you say to people who are maybe a bit nervous or who talk themselves down all the time? What do you say to those people?
My best advice is just start doing it. Don't worry about what happens. Practice, obviously. You get my first episode as a podcast, I was terrible, and now I like to think that after quite a few episodes, I'm a bit better. But you never perfect anything; it's all a journey. It's all a learning curve.
Yes.
But just practice, continue to do it. Think, analyze what you've done. Think about where you can maybe tweak things and get better at things, and always be analyzing and reflecting on what you've done. And at the same time, watch and listen to other people that do it well, and you'll start to get ideas from them, and they'll start to organically influence you to become a better podcaster or a better video content creator or audio content creator. But the key is just jump in. There's a great term, I think, paralysis by analysis.
Yes.
End up just driving yourself crazy, thinking about all the things that you can't do or not great at, and you'll never do anything. So the best is to throw all that to the side and just start, and then just learn as you go, get better as you go. And I guarantee it, you'll start to enjoy it. You'll start to find other people that do it well. You'll be influenced by them. And before you know it, you'll be doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't let perfection get in the way of progress, right?
Don't let perfection get in the way. There's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as, 100%. Yeah. If it's 70, 80%, get it out there and let the world decide. Because you could end up analyzing it and driving yourself crazy, and you'll never release anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my brother said this about relationship. He said, if you've got 80% of what you like in a partner, you're doing well. So it's a similar kind of thing,
Absolutely. Sounds good to me.
So don't be too hard on yourself or others, right? We're all in this. It's all a journey. It's all a journey. And, it could just be, as we said earlier, just one person could see what you put out or hear what you put out that can make the world of difference. Like with Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 3 years after he put Rich Dad, Poor Dad out, on 27th of April 2000, he appeared on Oprah. At the end of the 1 hour show, Oprah turned to him and said, "Congratulations, Rich Dad. We've just sold you 1 million books." Now, at the time, he was making $5 US per book, right? So that's $5 million at the end of a 1 hour show. So it's extraordinary what can happen with the power of the mass media. And that's what's happening when you're doing a podcast or a vodcast, creating your own media out there. It's phenomenal what can happen. However, most importantly is, be committed to what you want, not attached to how that will look, because we don't know who's going to be seeing your content. So just keep on your path, keep being true to yourself, and be in line with your passions, and
and it will happen.
The success will flow from there. Absolutely. In fact, it's a success actually just doing what you love. I think that's a brilliant thing.
Definitely. Like the journey is the success, actually. The journey of doing it and getting up every morning and getting excited about doing it is already the success.
Yes.
The rewards are just the added benefit.
Yes. They say money is units of currency. Right? That's what money is. It's units of currency. It just gives you more choice with things, and it's a measurement of how much you're serving people generally.
That's right.
Now, Gopal says, dancing. Yes, excellent, Gopal. We're going to see you dancing on your show. Can't wait. We're going to see the Bollywood from Bollywood City. We are going to see Gopal's show shortly. Well, make sure you share that with us, Gopal, when you do your podcast. Can't wait to see that. That is awesome. And Mark Whitby is here. He says, Bali is home and unscheduled 60-40. Oh, he prefers unscheduled 60-40 scheduled. Okay, so he prefers unscheduled over scheduled. Okay, got it, Mark.
I would tend to agree. I like more unscheduled than scheduled, because it allows you to keep in touch with what's happening in the world. And, social media marketing or marketing of any kind has its own rhythm. And if you don't, stay in, and if you're not in touch with that rhythm every day, you don't quite know what you're doing. So if you schedule things too far ahead, you lose touch with what you're doing, and then you lose touch with how it's being received by your audience. So I would much prefer people, keep tabs of what they're doing every day or two, and try and be as unscheduled as they can, because then they can say, oh, haven't done that for a while, let's do that. Haven't done that for a while, let's do that. This is working really well, let's do a bit more of that. But you can't teach an algorithm yet to do that well.
Yes, absolutely. Love that. Gosh, Darren, can you believe we've been chatting for an hour already?
Oh my God, look at the time.
That has just absolutely flown. I'm sure I wasn't doing most of the talking, was I?
No. No,
this is an
not
interview
at all.
show.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
It's been awesome. Is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave people with?
I would just say, look, you can even hear in the comments, like a lot of people just are still a little hesitant to just jump in and start. People start to think, and they're analyzing, and they're reflecting on what other people are doing. Throw all that away for next year and just tell yourself, okay, 2022, I'm just going to start on the 1st of Jan and I'm going to let it just carry me where it's going to carry me. Just throw all that caution to the wind and have some fun, and don't worry about what other people say, because a lot of the time when people talk about, what you're doing, especially in a negative light, they're just jealous that they're not doing it themselves.
So true. And 50% of anything you do is just starting, my friends. So just start and, seek a mentor if you need to. I'm sure Darren will support you in that, or I'll support you with that. So just reach out to someone. So Darren, if they do want to work with you, we have your website here, suspendedanimation.com.au. Do you have any programs or anything specifically you're doing at the moment that you're promoting?
Not in particular, but basically, I run loads of different courses if people want to sign up for any podcast courses or social media courses. And again, we can take that from whichever part of that journey you're on. If people want to just do 1 hour consultations where you just want to get some ideas and maybe just do a bit of a check on what you're doing and maybe give you some ideas for what can be done as well, I do that. And as well, would love you to listen to the podcast and subscribe. And if you're interested in becoming a guest, reach out to me as well. And I'd love to put a show together.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Darren. And, the other thing I love about podcasts and having your own show is that often what's happening now, if there's an alignment, is that people interview each other for each other's shows, just
That's
as
correct.
We are doing, Darren. So I've interviewed you. You're interviewing me, so those beautiful collaborations can happen when you have something to offer to say, you interview me, I'll interview you, if there's alignment, of course.
Absolutely. So I think collaboration is the most amazing thing about this new world of digital, because it's so much fun. You get to learn, you get to tap into other people's audiences, and it's just so great to be able to collaborate with all these great people.
Absolutely. And if you want to join us for BX next Tuesday, that will be 7 a.m. Sydney time, or 6 a.m. bright and early Queensland time, AEST. Next Tuesday will be our last one for the year, and then we're back in January. When are we back in January? Do you know, Darren?
I think we're back on the 14th or 15th of Jan, somewhere along those lines.
So second week or so of January.
Yeah,
all right, brilliant. Yeah. And BX is a wonderful network. I love it. I'm so grateful for the award that I won recently, and just for the networking in general, just a really great supportive community there. So I do recommend check it out, and let us know if you want a guest pass to any of the events and all the new regions that are opening up as well. So very, very cool. And if you want to connect with me, for those watching, here's my linktree /Aldwyn's got all my links. I have regular events that we run. We run the Global Good News Challenge, Mass Media Tribe events. I have a social media masterclass, a free publicity secrets masterclass, my mass media mastery program, etc., etc., etc. Lots of pages, social media, just connect on there. I do recommend, if you want to keep updated with our events, then go to Eventbrite and follow Aldwyn, Altuney and Eventbrite. You'll get all our event updates emailed to you. And currently we do have the Global Good News Challenge on. It's absolutely free. It's a Facebook Live challenge. You can build your confidence on camera, putting yourself out there, sharing gratitude and good news. So for details on that, just go again to the linktree /Aldwyn. Look for the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page, or go to Facebook and look at it over there. Global Good News Challenge, pinned to the top is all the details on how to participate in that. As long as you hashtag Global Good News Challenge, we will then share the love as well. And this is all about lifting the energy on the planet and helping to decrease depression and suicide rates. So if you're sick of the negative news out there, we'll go out and create some positive news, my friends. You have some great things to share, so let's hear about it. Can't wait to see what shows or hear what shows come out of this now. Let us know what you thought of this show in the chat. What's something you got out of today's show? Just pop into the comments, and feel free to share the love. If you think this interview could inspire some people out there, then do please share the love. Let us know if you have any questions and tag us in it so we can answer any of your questions. Any final words, Darren?
Oh, I think, look, just a big thank you to you for allowing me to come on the show and interact with this beautiful community from all over the world. Love it. Thailand, Bali, India. You're making me want to travel again.
Yeah.
But, really appreciate you allowing me on the show. It's been lovely to be here, and I hope people have got some, insight and some value from what I've been speaking about.
Thank you so much, Darren. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming and sharing your wisdom. It's been wonderful to have you here. So thanks so much for your time so generously. And we'll see some of you on BX next Tuesday. And keep an eye out for Darren's podcast. He's awesome too. So
Definitely. And Aldwyn will be on there soon. So keep an eye out for that episode.
That's right. So so that's going to be hot. So make sure you come along. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but we'll find out shortly. So, we'll be talking about how to get free publicity, probably something along those lines, I would imagine. But I never quite know what's going to come out of my mouth. So it always varies a little bit. Thank you so much once again, Darren. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. As Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And as I say, shine bright and light up all those around you. Thanks again. See you again soon. And make sure you subscribe to Media Queen TV if you haven't already on YouTube. Get some more inspiring truth and good news over there. Bye for now. Thanks, Darren. Bye.